Hello, George at Ninja Food Forest. About to build another Johnson Sioux bioreactor. I'm going to start by building this base. I thought first we go over, I'm going to walk you through the whole process. But I thought we'd start by going over and looking at one that's complete already, so we have an idea of everything that's going on here if you're not familiar with what these look like in the end. I'm going to pause here, and we'll have a look over here where they're set up. It's hard to see, but there's pallets underneath. I've got ground cloth across those. I don't think I'm going to use a ground cloth this time. I'm going to use a wire mesh on the bottom. But coming up through the top, we have these holes. That's for these PVC tubes that we put in there. And they go right down through the pallet. So right now what we're doing, we're going to start with is laying out where the holes go on the pallets and where this wire is going to sit on there. And we'll cut those holes for those PVC. So here at the pallet, I've already drawn a circle around here using this story pole. You don't need a story pole. You can just draw a circle, go to the center, and go to the radius. So I've got the story pole off the screw in the center, and I've got a notch in the end so I can draw where the mesh is going to go. I've also got a notch on this, which is centered between the outside of the center circle. We're going to have a tube down the center and the outside of the ring. So 2 inches, these are 4 and 3/8 inch pipes. So a little over 2 inches out from the center to the outside here, halfway between that, I've got another mark. I also, I'm not prepared for the video. Let me dig this out. You don't need this, but if you're gonna make more than one, it made it easy. You can just use a square, a framing square. But I've laid this out for 72 degrees. And that gives us 5 lines across here. Mark either side, move it around, and gives me that pie pattern. That gives us our 1 hole in the center, 5 lines going out, center mark those. That'll give us 5 holes. Now we've located those holes. So now I take a piece of PVC. It's not rocket science. None of this has to be perfect. If one of these holes lands on a piece of the framing in here, we can always move it a little bit. So I've got the marks here at the 8-inch mark. Some didn't line up, so I put it next to it about where it would be. In that case, I'm just going to cut either one a little bit. And I scribe these, working my way all the way around. I'll cut this one right in half, so I'm going to have to put a brace under it. We'll see how to do that. I'm doing that to 2 of them, so maybe I'll actually offset both of those a little bit. So I leave a little structure in there, not much, but a little bit. I'll remark that other one. And then we'll get the jigsaw out and cut these. Hopefully I'm able to edit this video and fast forward these things. If not, it's going to get real loud. You're not going to see much for a while, but me slowly cutting these holes. So now I simply go around and cut all these holes. If one of these happened to land in the center and these were bigger pallets, I would have started with a drill and drilled a hole to get the jigsaw in. Maybe in the name of not having to edit, I know this microphone does pretty good at getting rid of it. You just see me start. I'm going to pause and we'll come back. All right, these holes are all cut out. I did offset them a little bit. I took the center one and moved it that way a little bit, so I left meat. Same with this one and this one. Sometimes you put a scab under there and a little piece, just more work than you need to do though. This is just to hold these temporary. These poles themselves are only going to be in there for 2 to 5 days. Then we can pull these out and these holes will remain up through that compost. That'll hold its shape. So now I'm going to put wire mesh across here and staple that down. We'll go back and have a look at that. All right, I got all these holes cut for the pipe to come in. This is the first time I've done it this way, so I will share the mistake I made. Not necessarily a mistake, but made it a little bit harder. I was worried about these holes being harder to cut, and it wasn't too bad. Blistered up a little bit. But where I overlapped here in the center, I should have left these long and gone over the side, I believe, and not have to cut through two pieces in the center here. So 1, 2, 3 holes, all had 2 pieces, almost all through them. Made it a bit harder. Word to the wise. So I'm all set here now. I'm going to go ahead and call this part 1. We got the base done, and we'll move on to the next part of it. Okay, part 1's done. We've got the holes drilled, the mesh to stop the wood from falling through. We've drawn the circle on top. I ran out of the wire mesh, but I found this on the side of the road. I've had to connect 3 together. I've made it just over 12 feet long. We can simply do pi. If it's 40 inches at its widest point, 3.14, 120 inches. So we know we're going to be over 10 feet to make that circle we want. School bus going by. So I've got this laid out. Now I'm going to cover this with some of the landscaping cloth to hold the material in. I was going to use cardboard, but I don't have enough around. So I use the landscaping fabric that I have left over. I'm going to attach that with wire. So I'm going to sew the wire into here. Sometimes just tie it off in certain areas to hold that fabric on here. Be back in a minute. All right. Got the landscape fabric on here. I've gone along every 3 or 4 feet and put a tie in it on the bottom and the top of it. I can stand this up and make a hoop out of it. Put it on top of the base. Put the tubes in it and fill it up. See you in a minute. Okay, I brought the base over. I've got the tubes in it and ready. We're going to put the rim around it. If anyone did the math, I made that way too big. I was doing the math quick in my head and did pi times the diameter, not the radius. Sure, that's what I got wrong. But anyways, better too big than not big enough. So I'll put that ring around it and we'll come back. All right. Johnson Sioux bioreactor number 3 up and ready. We've got the tubes in that base we made. We can see the wire mesh, tubes going through it. The center tube hits the cross member, so that's going to tell us how high we can go. We'll pull these out a little bit as we're making it. We'll top this off with compost. We'll mix up a good mix of 2 to 1 browns to greens. Got a lot of weeds from the backyard here, 12 baskets. Try to get that up to 141 to 151, somewhere in there, and hold for a little bit. Back in a minute. Well, my phone's gone black. I think I'm out of battery. Maybe it's still recording. Here's the final Johnson Sioux. Final finished product of this 3rd Johnson Sioux, all complete. Just finished filling it. So I was able to build that and fill it in an afternoon. Change can be better than holiday. Peace. Ooh, time for a shower.